DataVizDC before. So we've got a number of new people. And so we have Sean Tibbetts this week from Times. I love the way that I meet these people. I was at another event by accident. They popped up in a co-organizing space. They had food, so I thought, why not attend? As I was taking the food and about to leave to go do more important work, Sean came up and he was presenting, and I kind of went, what's that? And I stopped and I paid attention for the next 20 minutes. How long is that presentation?
26. Sorry, it felt like 20.
Maybe it's because I was so attuned to everything. It felt like time was passing slower than normal. And his tech is really cool. It, the algorithms involved in doing the optical character recognition, the application of it, but then also the potential for it in other areas, which we're going to have a surprise presentation from Ben Freeman from Congressman Nadler's office to talk about just how useful this technology can be to Congress. But if we can go to the next slide. Of course, that's me. You can always email me if you have any questions. And Anthony Clark. Actually, you have a data community email. Yeah, it's Anthony at Data Community.
It's great.
It's the best email. It's the best email. Keep going to the next one. So then, of course, there's Data Community DC. There's 8 programs. We have roughly one for each group a month. Some of them are more, some of them are less. We reach about 600 people or so every month. It's summer, so it's toned down a little bit. Normally, this room would be completely packed. So there's only so much you can do. DC is a low in the summer. Next slide. So who signed up for Datable? I presume all of you are currently looking for jobs, right? So that is the goal here. I'm going to pass this sheet around. If you didn't have a chance to sign up, go ahead and sign up. It is a new service being offered by Data Community DC. One of the things that everybody asks for at our events is I'm looking to hire or I'm looking for a job. So we're just collecting all of those names, putting them in one place, and helping people get together. Next slide. So I will turn it over to our favorite announcer, Anthony.
Thank you, Sean. This is, it's great to be back here, and you guys are all wonderful coming out in the rain. Who likes data? You guys all like data? You guys all want data to be good, right? But how many people want data to be great? How many people want to make data great again? That's what we're going to do. That's what DC2 is all about. That's what Datable is all about. And that's what our sponsors are all about. We're about making data great again. We're going to make American data open to all the world, okay? We're going to make American data great. So, starting with our top tier sponsors, we got AOL, America Online. They made the internet great. You got mail? How good was it to hear that when you were a kid? You got mail. It was wonderful. No walls. Okay, Booz Allen. Booz Allen. How many of you guys work in data science? How many of you guys work in data viz? How many of you guys work or consult government? You guys need to step your game up. You guys got to make America great again. So Booz Allen does all that. So if you work for Booz Allen, you're going to be working with data, working with the government, doing great stuff, making America more secure, making America safer, doing really great stuff. And if you're a contractor like I am, you have a lot of downtime. So you might want to do some reading. And there's O'Reilly. And you can't get a better name than O'Reilly because it's amazing, it's American, it's all over the world, it's all about data. It's really great. Like, they say that a book can take down a wall. I think that's what we should do. Take down all the walls to data science. Ebooks, PDFs, videos, talks, amazing. Get to meet people like you. Build data again. Build it great, build it better, build it awesome. And then there's district data labs. Meet like-minded people, do data science stuff. It's amazing. It meets on Saturday mornings. I know everybody's tired from Friday, but let me tell you, District Data Lab, DDL, is amazing. Like, data can make America great again. And then finally, statistics. So I don't care much for statistics because 3/9 of them are lies or whatever. But statistics is great. T curves, Z curves, They kind of look like walls, whatever. It's going to be great. And we also have deep learning analytics. It's amazing. It's artificial intelligence. It's machines, learning about machines, learning about machines. Mind equals blown. It's so great. And there's NVIDIA, because you want your American machine to run faster. You got to put graphics cards in it, man. GPUs, man. America, graphics, red, white, and blue. See them in all different colors. Then we have an O'Reilly conference, Strata and Hadoop. Got to make data work. You have to make data work again. And that's going to be on September 9th, September 29th to October 1st in New York. Great city. Visit Trump Tower while you're up there. And then there's artificial intelligence, because AI, machines, it's so great. They're learning. It's Skynet. It's learning. It's like a net in the sky. It's learning about itself, okay? Find John Connor, September 26th and 27th.
Have you guys ever been to an O'Reilly event? They're really, really good. There's like 1,000 people go.
Thousands of people.
There's
everybody loves speakers.
And that is the most complicated code ever. I actually got them to take that down from just that hexadecimal thing that was like 32 characters long. I have no idea what UG stands for, but otherwise it's data, sci, DC. I have no idea what the UG. The person who gave me the code doesn't know what UG stands for. User group? Sure.
UG, data, sci, DC. District data labs, take classes in data, get your data game up, improve your data game, come at your data game strong, spit data game. We got incubator, research lab, we got corporate training, we got consulting, everything with data. It's amazing. It really is. And then statistics.com. You can get 15% off all your courses with this code right here, DC2. 15% off. Isn't it great? Announcements. Anybody got an announcement?
Anything you'd like to say? You have a job, you're looking for a job, you have a group that you having meet, you're looking for somebody with React.js skills.
My name is James Long. I work at the Federal Communications Commission. We'll be looking for some interns in the fall. Those will be unpaid positions, but the work will be interesting. We are in sort of the last stages of developing analysis for the first report of mobile broadband in the United States, so that should be interesting.
Someone who's equally crazy like myself who wants to tinker in his spare time with big data and systems engineering, and also tinker with building, because we're trying to build this IoT startup for smart homes and stuff like that. So I ain't paying you nothing. So if you think you're looking for money, how much you got? If you want to talk, it's going to be huge. So
It's going to be huge.
It's really well. I mean, you can't help but laugh at it. It's the simplest, silliest, yet most sticks in your mind. What hashtag? DataVizDC.
Hello, my name is Casey from Chief. I'm a web developer here. I literally just work here. But we are hiring for a number of positions nearly all the time. Our website's agencychief.com/careers, I think it is, and we're looking for software developers, UX people, project managers, designers, just about everybody. If you have any questions, I'll be sitting up here at the end. Cool, thank you.
And these guys are great. Chief is great. Let's give a round of applause to Chief.
Okay. So there is one thing I wanted to show you guys before we moved on to the next thing. And you guys probably saw this. It was up before. It's a little beta that we're playing with for Datable. This was developed by Adil, and Adil, I forgot your last name. But if you want to stand up, you want to talk about Kashif for a second.
Come on up here, Adil.
Hi. Actually, next month I will be also back here and presenting that specific work. I wanted to contribute to Datable, which tries to kind of match the data science data company with data practitioners. And in this case, the data, Sean has been collecting these awesome profiles, candidates in a spreadsheet, in a table. So I just wanted to grab that and I've developed a tool called Cache, which kind of converts that data very quickly into an interactive and visual interface. And we deployed that at and we're going to deploy, keep improving the website, other things. So yeah, I guess you will be seeing the final version, and if you just go to the current one as well, you'll be able to learn more about it.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea is that there's all these fields, and we want to make it more interactive. So let's say you want a veteran, and you want to make sure that they know something about predictive modeling and Monte Carlo analysis. So you hit those couple things, and you get predictive modeling there and Monte Carlo, and now you actually only have, I believe, here are 2 people. So you select them in addition to the other ones, and
then they fight you to death.
yes. Or you can unselect them and it goes away, and you ask for an introduction. And right now it's $35 per introduction, and the money all goes back to Data Community DC. So this right now is our latest solution for trying to take the people that are announcing jobs or say they're looking for jobs and notice that there's no actual names on here. So one of the biggest issues was getting rid of those recruiters that look for your keyword search and then say like, oh, I see you did C++ 15 years ago. There's a job in Alaska for you. Would you like to, move across the country? And you put them in the spam filter, right? So I've actually had about 3 recruiters call me saying that I should get rid of the fee because then they can go through the list and email you guys. So the fee's still there. And the whole point is get rid of them. So anyway, without further ado, where is Ben? Come on, Ben.
Come on, Ben.
Ben is with Congressman Nadler's office, and we've been working together on how to introduce data science into Congress, and there's a number of initiatives, but Ben, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you very much. So again, my name is Ben Freeman. I work with Congressman Jerry Nadler from New York. Our district covers the Upper West Side of Manhattan down to the Lower West Side and parts of Brooklyn. We have Central Park, Ground Zero. Pretty interesting stuff, even if people don't know who he is. So this is a bit of a stream of consciousness presentation, so please bear with me. My title is a legislative assistant and deputy press secretary in my office. And my background is in IT and also politics and international relations. And I've been in Congress for about 5 years or so. And just in my time there, I have noticed how there are so many inefficiencies and ways or places that data science could be applied to improve our daily operations, connections with outside groups that are trying to increase transparency in Congress. And so that's what I've been trying to work with Sean on. And so I'm actually here to give you kind of a preview of just what we're doing and to try and recruit some of you. One of our ideas is actually to have a monthly hackathon where coders from the outside come and work with Congress, work with staffers to try and apply data science to problems that we have internally. Anyways, so algorithms should be able to handle that.
He's not in the PR department.
I actually am on the short department. But so we're looking at ways to really sort of, most people in Congress, so there was all this amazing stuff on the Obama campaigns, predictive analytics, just all sorts of like awesome applications of data science to politics, and it didn't really make its way over after the campaigns. Most of those people went to go work at startups like Spotify or Google or Microsoft or whatever. They didn't necessarily go into politics. So there are many different applications, as I mentioned. And so we're working on, and there have been congressional hackathons which try and bring together coders and outside government groups. Sunlight Foundation, GovTrack.us is another one, in order to sort of bridge the gap that I was talking about but there hasn't been much follow through. There's been a hackathon and then nothing really happens. So we're working on trying to set up sessions to interface with staffers or people that have these problems, that have issues in Congress communications or workflow issues or different things like that, and connect coders with the people needing problem solved in order to help our democracy and support America and make America great again. Like you're saying, make America great again. So thank you. That's my quick pitch for right now, and hopefully we'll have some more details later on. But if you have free time and love America, you've got to come and help us out.
Make the data work for America.
Make the data
So
great again.
if you're interested in any of those hacks, that will be coming up in the next few months. Just come and talk to either one of us. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sean Tibbetts. Big round of applause.
Thank you much. This will be interesting with a handheld mic. We got demos and stuff.
Sean, there is a lapel mic that should be right underneath there. Sorry we didn't get that set up. It should be very easy to turn on and go.
Let's see just how technically savvy I am.
You should just be able to flick the switch and it should be working.
Flick the switch.
Yep.
This on button?
I believe so. It might look like,
Hello.
there you go.
Hey, all right.
Ready to go.
This is what we call prep.
And just a heads up, if you stand underneath the speaker, there'll be feedback. So
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
if you want to punish us, you do.
I almost
Stand right there.
There.
I almost forgot. I'm sorry. Everybody have their card that we handed out? We actually have Kat in the back, and she gave the presentation back in December. And we have a cheap T-shirt for whoever ends up drawing the best description of tonight. So if you haven't been here before, you just capture a visual description of it and then take a picture of it and tweet it to DataVizDC, and we'll be giving away a T-shirt at the end of the night.
Awesome. So talking Twitter real quick, we are at the Cyber Times with a Z on the end. So if you guys are tweeting out, please tweet at us as well. I'm Sean Tibbetts. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cyber Times. As you can see by the slide, we win an awful lot of awards. We're a 1776 member company based out of Crystal City campus. For those of you that have startups, I highly recommend 1776 Crystal City. We have an executive chef and we get free lunch every day. So some of the things that we've won are the CTIA Startup Lab. CTIA is the wireless industry's lobbying group primarily. They hold a huge conference out in Las Vegas. We competed against 30,000 other companies and won the Best Internet of Things company for the stuff that we do. Right here in DC, we won the Destination Innovation Award with the Washington Post last year. We also won the Best Use of Intel Technology Award, and as well as the Startups Ignite, both People's Choice and First Place. So we've won an awful lot of awards, but that's not what anybody really cares about. What they care about is what we do. So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight, I want to introduce you to Teresa. Teresa's a friend of mine. She's the executive director of the Bluegrass Council for the Blind back in Kentucky. She was born with a degenerative vision disorder that's slowly costing her sight a little bit more each year. The big secret about Teresa is that she actually happens to be a parrot head, also known as a Jimmy Buffett fan. We were at a Jimmy Buffett concert together. I was an early adopter of Google Glass, had Google Glass on my head. She wanted to try them on, and after just a couple of minutes, she actually got really upset and started to cry in the middle of this concert. And so I asked her, I said, Teresa, you know, what's the matter? Do they hurt? Is the battery hot? Are they uncomfortable? What's wrong? And she says, no, you don't understand. This thing has a camera on the front and a speaker in my head. It could literally replace my eyes and tell me what I'm looking at. So that's a little bit far-fetched, trying to replace somebody's eyes with a pair of glasses. So we started looking at what was feasible and achievable, especially with the team of engineers that I know after a 30-year career in IT. And so we built Cyber Eyes. So Cyber Eyes is an application that runs on smart glasses. Initially, we built it for Google Glass. Since then, we've actually moved to a different product called Vuzix. Vuzix was built for industrial manufacturing type environments. So it's a lot sturdier, it's a lot faster, it has more memory. It's just all around a better product than Google Glass for what we do. But what Cyber Eyes does is a couple of things. One, it allows people to magnify anything in the environment in real time up to 15 times resolution. So they can watch TV and there's no lag in the glasses. It's all real time while they're watching it. They can see people coming into the room, that kind of thing. But more importantly, and the biggest problem we solved first was about reading text. We know that when you lose your sight, 72% lose their job. And it has nothing to do with the accommodations that are in place currently with screen readers and that kind of thing. It has to do with everything else. As soon as you step away from your computer that has a screen reader on it, you can't interact. You can't read the paper memos. You can't read the whiteboard in the conference room. You can't read somebody else's screen. There's a major problem once they step away from their workstation, which decreases their value to the employer, which eventually leads to them being dismissed. So that's the problem we are trying to tackle. It's not a small problem, it's a huge problem. Most folks don't know how many people are affected by blindness in the United States. I always kind of get a wow when I tell folks this number. There are 47 million people with low vision in the US. So this is diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, a disease called Stargardt's that usually attacks people in their 30s. So 46 million people have one of those diseases. Another 7.2 million people are completely blind. So we're talking about a population size of 54 million people, or 1/6 of the US population. And as you start looking at Europe and Asia and other countries, that number is actually bigger because of a lack of access to good vision healthcare. So how does it work? Super easy. All they have to do is say, take a picture. We use the onboard camera to take that picture. We then run it through an optical character recognition engine. The engineering team that we have on this, myself included, we used to work for Xerox. And we built the world's fastest optical character recognition engine, processing 1.3 million medical claims an hour for Xerox. And so we tried to figure out how we could take that kind of technology and doing OCR and move that to a little itty bitty tiny device with no wires on it. And that was actually the challenge. So we have an optical character recognition on here, and then we use text to speech on the device itself to read back to the individual. Where this also makes a difference is currently with screen readers and the other technology that's out there, they're usually hooked up to a speaker. So as they're reading their email and that kind of thing at work, everybody gets to hear all of their business. With this, it maintains a much higher level of privacy. One of the stories that I hear on a regular basis from new users was they got to read their own mail for the first time in several years. They didn't have to have their kids read their bank statement or their bills to them, that kind of thing. And it's just kind of a life-changing moment for those folks. At the end of the day, what it does is we eliminate a lot of accessibility tools. They don't need a Braille printer, they don't need a magnifier, they don't need a screen reader. There's a lot of tools that tend to be given to low vision and blind folks. It costs about $13,000 to $16,000 from different government agencies every time somebody goes into low vision or blindness. With our device, we're under $2,000. So now for the cool part, the demo. And hopefully the demo demons will leave us alone, but we'll see. So what you're seeing on the screen now is what I see in a little tiny display right here that is adjustable, so we can move it up, down, left, right, get it in the center of their lens wherever it needs to be. It can also be mounted on the left or on the right. We can use voice commands to navigate through it. We can also use buttons across the top to navigate it, or there's a gesture sensor on the side that I can use my hand to wave back and forth, in and out, that kind of thing, all to navigate through the device. We turn the voice control stuff off for demos like this because the speaker tends to generate feedback and causes issues. But we have a little Bluetooth speaker paired to it, so you can actually hear what's going on the device. It's a full Android device, so it does everything an Android does. So we have maps, email, downloads, CyberEyes, calculator, browser, gallery, contacts, clocks, cameras, calendars, audio recorder, all the stuff that's built into an Android device, including a barcode reader, which if you're not blind or low vision, you have no idea how valuable this is at the grocery store. To be able to pick something up, read the barcode, and it'll tell you what you have hold of, or as you're getting it out of your pantry. Barcode reading is very, very important for our population. But this is CyberEyes. Someday we'll get the text-to-speech to actually say CyberEyes instead of CyberEyes. And that's the application, up and running. So there's a little bit of lag on the computer screen just because it's running through the device and it's running a Java virtual machine. But we can zoom in up to 15 times. So there's Sean in the back of the room. And the other thing that we can do with this is read text. And as you hear, it's actually telling me everything that's happening as we go. So we're going to take our nifty little piece of paper here, click a button. It's going to autofocus. There we go. It's processing the image. It usually takes about 2 to 3 seconds. There we go. It's starting to read it back to me already. There we go. And so the rest of the page, there's a little bit more to it. The reason we do this where we can zoom in and why that's important in the blind community is something called area of interest. There's a lot of OCR machines out there. The best example I can give you for area of interest is a newspaper. That if I take a newspaper, slide it under an OCR machine, it's going to read from left to right all the way across the page. So it reads random words that don't make any sense because the articles are all in columns. Our OCR engine reads in columns. The other thing that we do is as we zoom in, we can actually focus on a particular area of text and read just that. So the amount due on an electric bill, that kind of thing, they can have just that section read back to them. We are, according to the Johns Hopkins Institute Wilmer Eye Clinic, we are currently the only device in the world doing that. We are also the only device in the world that is wearable and wireless and requires no connectivity. These are not currently connected to Wi-Fi, they're not connected to my cell phone, they're only Bluetooth paired to the speaker. Everything they're doing is happening on the device itself in real time. So, thank you. Thank you. So we're actually going to stop right here and take your guys' questions real quick. We've got a couple other products we're going to demo, and I really like to stop as we do each product and get questions from you guys so you don't forget them by the time we get to the end. So first hand up was blue shirt back here.
Have you quantified how much vision you need to actually use your product?
We actually work with a lot of folks at different vision loss levels. We encourage them when they first get their diagnosis to get the device as soon as they can, primarily because it's easier to learn something while you still have some vision. But out of the customers that we have, about 70% are completely blind, so they have no sight at all. Yeah.
Are you covered under any of the Medicare or Medicaid schedule?
We are currently not covered under Medicare and Medicaid. This is actually an interesting question for this particular room. We collect no data, and there's a reason for that. As soon as I start collecting user data, the FDA says that we could use that data to design a therapy with the device. As soon as the device begins being used for therapy, I'm classified as a Class 2 medical device, which means I have to go through all the FDA approval processes. We've walked a very fine line to be considered an augmentative device. So more like hearing aids and those types of tools that are consumed in real time with no data collection. And the reason is the FDA. So we are in the process. We have our national provider ID number from Medicare and Medicaid. We're getting our durable medical equipment ID number, but we're still walking that line to not be classified as a medical device. Yes, sir.
For your community, is there any use in gaze detection?
Not really. Some of the eye diseases that we work with are actually due to the eye bouncing up and down, left and right. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks who go through a field sobriety test and fail because of this particular eye disorder. In addition, when you have something like Stargardt's and macular degeneration, the eye itself becomes very cloudy. So detecting where that pupil is to identify where the gaze is at becomes really, really difficult. What we found is voice control is the most favored method. Everybody loves being able to talk to it and make it do stuff. Right behind that is using the buttons, because as we were doing our field trials, when folks were in the grocery store, it was kind of driving everybody nuts around them saying, take picture, take picture, take picture, take picture, as they were working down the aisle. So we added the button control so they could just take a picture with the button.
So as it is right now, this device is not hooked up to the human being.
Not at all.
So you probably owe me money for this next question. Because are you aware of the fact that you could actually hook this device up, say, by the tongue, by sensors onto the tongue, and actually send messages to the brain where completely blind people would actually be able to use this as a form of eyes? There's done studies in Stanford, and you can actually do that stuff.
They can. The problem with that is that it very quickly gets us into medical device land.
Right.
And as a 1.5-year-old startup, if I tried to go down the medical device route, the director of the FDA and I had lunch a couple of years ago, and he actually told me I'd be looking at $3.5 to $5 million before I was ever allowed to sell a single product if I get that classification. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. There are a lot of interesting future models of this kind of thing. And it's actually one of the problems in this space. One of the issues that we have with our user community is based on trust. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen in this space. There's a product out there called eSight that all of their marketing material says it replaces sight. What they really do is magnification. And it's this giant device that you wear in a backpack, and there's a cord that runs to it, and all it's doing is magnification. But they've sold themselves as replacing sight. That device costs $15,000. So we work very hard to counteract the whole snake oil salesmen that are in this space. It's now really tough.
But you can send your invoice to him. It's spam at cybertimes.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
You said that you can read barcodes. Could you try reading the barcode on that bottle of water? We can. Actually, I got one a little bit closer here. So let's back out of this guy and see what happens. Without the Wi-Fi being turned on, it may not be able to connect to the UPC database. So we'll pull that up. There you go. There's our barcode.
Find search button. Browser.
Yeah, so because I'm not online, it's not able to do the search. But you saw kind of how easy that was. It even beeps like you do at the cash register. So somebody who's blind, the problem is where's the UPC code? And so they'll take something and start spinning the bottle until they finally get to the UPC code. This beeps in their ear and tells them when they got it. Sure.
What about learning disabilities like dyslexia or ADHD?
So dyslexia in particular is one that the Virginia Assistive Technology System approached us about this summer working on dyslexic students. Because we're able to zoom in and read just a word or a sentence, something like that, they want to use the glasses to figure out how we can work with dyslexia. The problem for us is, again, that puts us into a therapy space. So what we've done so far is we've made VATS and GMU tell the FDA, this is a trial, this is a beginning process, we are not applying this as a therapy yet. If it comes out on the other side that it worked, then we'll go down that path, but with GMUs backing behind us to be able to pay for it.
What's the tech that you're using for the OCR?
That would be proprietary and patented, but it is an OCR engine that we built from the ground up. And I heard them mention earlier about GPUs. The difference in OCR, especially for fast OCR and slow OCR, is Ray Kurzweil invented OCR back in the 80s. He's actually an advisor to the company. But Ray built OCR, it runs on the CPU, and CPUs are really good at math. So if you look at this particular picture, we'll go back a couple, you see all the little squares around the number 8, and then you see the blocks around the individual letters. That's all math that's happening on the CPU. As it turns out, a video card handles images a whole lot better and does them natively. So when we built the engine for Xerox, it was entirely written in a language called CUDA that runs on the GPU itself. And this one is written in CUDA and runs on the GPU on glasses themselves.
Doesn't Google put out some OCR products?
They have a product called Tesseract.
They
So
came from HP, right?
HP engineers who left HP wrote Tesseract in the open source world. You can actually download it off of GitHub and off you go. Tesseract is really good. We know the programmer there too. RM Thies is a friend of ours. He helped us with quite a bit of the work that we were doing. Tesseract is a really strong engine, but Tesseract only works on really high quality images. So even the picture that I took of the page tonight, if you notice these little lights and then the sunlight coming in through the window, that creates shadows in the image. And Tesseract cannot take that image and read it by itself. It'll start reading random characters, and usually what it does is it'll add I's, L's, and 1s when it sees the edge of a page and things like that. So you end up with Tesseract, you have to go through a massive amount of pre-processing on the image itself before you ever submit it to Tesseract.
So did you change the algorithms in Tesseract, or did you change the training data?
Neither. We wrote our own. So the OCR engine that's running on here was based on Tesseract to begin with, but Tesseract is a CPU-based engine. So we ended up writing a lot of the similar algorithms, but rewrote them in CUDA, so they run on the GPU itself.
Is your market only the US?
Right now we have customers in the US and Canada, and we got approached last week to expand to South America. The Virginia Economic Development Cabinet is also trying to get us into France, the UK, and Scotland.
Do you sell this product or do you also make donations?
Either.
How much does it cost?
The product itself is just under $2,000. And so we actually have a lot of different ways to pay for it. Now, most of our population can't pay for it, right? Even their credit scores are bad, that kind of thing. So we work with consumer finance companies, and we work with state-operated low interest loan programs for accessible technology. That's something that happened just last week. We got approved in all 50 states for their low interest loan programs. And as of today, we actually just signed a contract with the DC Centers for Independent Living and the disability services here in DC, that now they'll be able to provide it to folks as well.
Where do you produce the product?
We don't. So this is a commercial off-the-shelf product called Vuzix. They're based out of Rochester, New York. And so we buy a commercial off-the-shelf piece of hardware, we put our software on it and redistribute it. That's why we can keep the price low.
Are you engaged with any like at-risk populations for visual impairment, disability like the diabetic populations? subsidies through those?
We do. The American Diabetes Association in particular is really interested in what we're doing, and we have a partnership with ANOVA. ANOVA created a new sensor lab that just started about a month and a half ago. We're the second company that's been invited to be a part of the ANOVA sensor lab. So we're actually applying for an NIH grant with ANOVA and Johns Hopkins as our partners to work with the American Diabetic Association to do early prevention.
Is that an SBIR grant?
It is. Yeah, we're going for a phase 2 commercialization grant.
Yeah, and Congress is keeping the portion of awards going to that program up, so you're
Right, that's a good thing. Yeah.
He said,
Oh, okay.
Sorry, one other question. So for Tesseract, I remember that originally it was pretty good for English, but then for other language families, it was having difficulties. With your GPU-based technology, do you plan to expand to other language families? Like I think
We do.
Arabic and Chinese were hard.
Right now, we support 115 languages and 160 different font libraries. And the way we do that is with Tesseract's training data.
Awesome.
Okay.
I was just wondering if you ran into any other issues with your users besides the trust and the price.
Sure. So the learning curve, or the adoption curve rather, on adaptive technology or accessible technology tends to look like this. Falls off a cliff after about 3 weeks. When they first get the device, they're really excited about it. The second week, they use it a couple times a day. By the third week, it's put into a drawer. When we ran our pilot programs, our curve was the exact opposite. And so we really struggled with that. And why is that happening? That the first week they're using it 2 to 3 times a day. The second week they're using it 5 to 7 times a day. And by the third week, they're using it all day long. And so we really struggled with what was going on there. And it turns out the problem is in learning the device. It's not learning the app, because the app only does 2 things, and it's really easy to use. But learning how to use the device, figuring out with Google Talkback if the device is turned on or not, where they're at on the home screen, how to navigate back to the home screen if they're stuck somewhere, all of that became the problem. So the way that we tackled that is working with the Johns Hopkins Institute. We actually set it up so that whenever somebody buys a pair of glasses, we send them to an occupational therapist, and the therapist spends 90 minutes with them, training them on how to use the device itself in their environments.
Have you found that to be the most useful in company for that particular user?
Oh, absolutely. And the Wilmer Eye Institute in particular at Johns Hopkins, that's kind of a big deal. They're the #1 low vision clinic in the world, as voted by ophthalmologists around the world every year for the last 17 years running. So having Johns Hopkins support behind us and having their staff doing the training has been a phenomenal boom for us.
And just, I guess to add on that, are most of your users older generation, or are they also the young?
It's across the board. Our youngest user is 9 and our oldest one is 84.
Okay.
So it's across the board.
So you haven't considered maybe an onboarding in terms of using that device along with the mobile app, especially if you have connection between the two?
There already is a mobile app to manage the Vuzix glasses, and so you can go to the Vuzix App Store and download new things, that kind of thing. It also already pairs with your phone, so it acts as a Bluetooth headset and can make phone calls and send text messages and all that stuff. This is the other reason we like this better than Google Glass. It not only works with Android, but it works with iOS too. Other questions on eyes? One okay?
Work with veterans. Did I read something about that?
We just this week, actually, we signed a teaming agreement with a service-disabled veteran-owned business that is an approved VA contractor. And so we're working with them to provide our product inside the VA system. July 25th, we've been invited to present to the blind support group for the VA.
And I was just wondering, I was just wondering, how functional is a person with that headset? Can they go back to work? Like part-time or full-time, or how does that?
Full-time. The biggest thing that we've seen is getting them back to employable, right? Because most of them have already lost their job. So we get them back to the point of employability. We work very closely with the National Industries for the Blind to do that. And so National Industries will find particular jobs that are out there and available. The wildest one of all things is kind of crazy. It's full circle career-wise. The Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind does a lot of federal contracts for the White House, closing out contracts and scanning documents. So, and they have a whole team of blind people that's all they do is scan documents all day long. And when we took the glasses and gave them the glasses, as opposed to using a scanner and a PC to figure out which document in the contract they were looking at. We took them from processing on average about 9 contract closes a day, closer to 35 closes a day, which is on par with a sighted person. They tend to do about 28 to 30 a day. These guys are doing 35 a day. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sal.
In the back.
She had her microphone.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering, can the video do clarification or similar for extreme myopia?
Right now, the way the video works is, that's the other reason we love these guys, is it has autofocus built in. So as you're focusing in on something, it will readjust all of the camera settings to make sure the image is as clear as possible. One of the things I was going to tell this on my team Sunday, but I'll tell it now. We have 5 interns from Gallaudet University who are all deaf working for us this summer. And the next task that they're working on is high contrast mode. So that as I'm looking at something, there are certain disorders, and myopia happens to be one of them, that they want to reverse everything from black to white. And so we'll be finishing that by the end of this week. It should be done on Friday, actually. So that's another difference in our business model. We don't charge our users when we release a new version and add features. They get them for free forever. I think one back there?
Right, just to answer that prior question about the return to work
Mhm.
rates, is that like published in quantified ways in a white paper somewhere?
So far, we've done 3 paid pilot programs, and 2 of those were with organizations that are really focused on employability. So we have the numbers, but we haven't published them anywhere. We're really trying to get to a larger population set to make that a solid, viable number. And that's where Industries for the Blind really comes into it, is they employ somewhere around 6,500 blind people every 12 months. And so working with them, we see we're gonna get some really good information over the next year.
And then we have forthcoming publication from that.
Yep.
Great.
I wanted to know about the mobility and the navigation part of your product. I mean, does it really help eliminate, let's say, a walking stick for the blind? And, on that part, because that is where most of the employable part of a person comes from, you know?
So mobility is, so there's, in the blind community, you have what's called O&M, orientation and mobility. And mobility tends to be the first thing that they tackle when somebody loses their sight. Because the other really sad statistic is when somebody loses their sight, about 40% of them never leave their house again. And it's because of an overwhelming fear of going to unknown places and not being able to find your way back home. So one of the things that we use on the glasses is, if you noticed as I was scrolling through them here, and we don't have the Wi-Fi turned on, so it's not gonna show it at the moment, but we have maps. And so using maps, they can put in the location that they're trying to go to, and they can get step-by-step walking directions or driving directions. One of the other things that really pisses me off in this particular community is cab drivers and Uber drivers. When they have somebody who's blind get in the car, they tend to take really long routes to get them to where they're trying to go to increase the fare. And so what we teach people to do is to put the address into the maps before they get into the car, and that way if they take a wrong turn, it tells them that it's rerouting in their ear, and they can let the cabbie know they know they're screwing. Yeah, the other one that, the other really sad one is about currency. There's a lot of cashiers out there that rob blind people. So they'll give them back a $1 bill and tell them it's a $10 bill, something along those lines. So we use the glasses to read the currency that's coming back as well to make sure they're not being robbed in cash register.
How did you catch them that the cab drivers were taking longer routes?
It happens all the time, actually. If you talk to somebody who's lost their sight and is still mobile, they'll have a whole handful of stories where they can tell you that happened. One of the things is a lot of people, especially in that are mobile, they memorize steps, right? So they know it's this many steps to get to the curb, it's this many steps to get to the door, that kind of thing. And when they get into a car, if they're going to the same route again and again, they'll memorize the turns and how long it should be taking to get from block to block. So right now, the way they do that is just from route memory. But by using a device like this, we're able to tell them whenever they're being rerouted and shouldn't be.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned that you're kind of walking a fine line right now with user data, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that, because it seems like obviously it would be really important to kind of make the case for why it's improving lives. Yeah, so I guess if you had any.
Sure, even the FDA director thinks that this is really stupid. So the problem is, it's not even that if we collected the data and didn't use it, would we still be classified as an augmentative device? We could even sign an affidavit that says we promise not to use this for therapy. It doesn't matter. Because once we have the data, we could either partner with another company that does therapy design, or we could generate our own therapy through the product itself. and they don't even care what kind of data it is. So even the question about the employability rate and those kinds of things, there's a real reason for us not to collect that.
Okay.
National Industries for the Blind can collect it and produce the report and put all that information out, but I can't.
Okay. So even if they were opting in and taking like a survey or something, that would still qualify as that sort of
It does. And so that's one of the things we did with George Mason University is they did a field trial for us. We're in the middle of it this summer where they want the data. And so we went back and we updated the application. I don't know if you guys know about a system called Flurry, Flurry. It's built into a lot of mobile applications and will tell you whenever somebody opens your app, how long they're in it, which buttons they press. It does all that stuff for you. And so we put Flurry into a version that is specific to GMU. And we even wrote it in a way that I don't have access to the Flurry system. Only people at GMU have it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really fine line, and we have to be really careful because I do not have 3 years and $5 million to make it through the FDA. There's no way it would bankrupt us.
Okay, thank you.
We have, just for your timing, like 43 minutes left. I want to go to you. This is a fantastic Q&A so far.
Sure.
Any last ones? One last one, and then we'll do the next round.
Okay.
So one last question, since this is such an exciting product. So do you have any plans to do any attempts at object recognition? I mean, this would require Wi-Fi, playing with ImageNet, you know, like Stanford or other places, but it seems like long term.
It does, and it's actually not all that long term. So we're a very strong Google partner. We were one of 9 Glass for Work partners building software for Google Glass. We're still building software for the version 2 of Google Glass that's coming out. And we're very close with them on what's called Project Tango. I don't know if you guys have seen Project Tango or not. Project Tango is an effort to do real-time 3D mapping of indoor spaces. And there's a commercial product coming out by LG this fall where it's a tablet, but you can actually take this tablet and navigate around rooms and that kind of thing. The other companies that are working with Project Tango with Google are IKEA and gaming companies and those kinds of folks that are looking at augmented reality. Out of all the Project Tango companies, we're the only one that they picked to do accessible technology. So we're working with our manufacturer on the glasses to put a Project Tango compatible camera in the glasses so that we can start doing real-time indoor navigation using Project Tango. But that whole project is probably about a year to 18-month long project. So in the meantime, what we're doing an A/B testing with this right now with our user community, that there's a system called the Google Cloud Vision API. And Cloud Vision does a lot of things from OCR, does text recognition, it also does object recognition, logo recognition, and facial recognition. So we got $200,000 in free credits from Google to use the Cloud Vision API. And so we're working on a connected version of the glasses that's connected to the cloud to be able to do that object recognition. The other version that we're doing is a disconnected version that uses a system called OpenCV. It's an open source computer vision. Yeah. So OpenCV has a whole object recognition library built into it as well. The only thing we don't like about OpenCV is it has to be trained. So if I want to know that this is a coffee cup, I have to tell it the first time that it's a coffee cup, and then it'll recognize it from then on. Whereas with the Cloud Vision API, it has access to every image that's in Google Images. And so getting data back from the Cloud Vision API tends to be a whole lot faster and easier on our end user. But what we're looking at is, because part of the problem with Cloud Vision API is it costs money every month. So right now we have a single price point on our product and we never charge them again. We're looking at, should we also be offering a software as a service version of the product that's using cloud APIs instead? And does that bring the cost down for our users? Is it still profitable for us? There's a whole lot of work that goes into that. But out of our 5 Gallaudet engineers, one of them is working on the whole high contrast and some of the other features we're working on from that perspective. The other 4 are working on Project Tango and OpenCV. So we've got a lot of resources working in that space right now.
Do you take open source contributions or?
Sure, happy to. I see one more back there and then we'll keep going. Yep.
Hypothetically, if there was an investor who could give you the $5 million, how much of your company would you be on?
So we had 2 separate valuations done, and where we are today, according to both BDO here on the East Coast and Wearable World on the West Coast, without ever talking to each other, they came to the same number at $4.5 million as our current valuation. So if they came in with the $5 million, they would basically own us. So that's not a deal we would do for that particular reason. Instead, we would have them invest over time so that as we qualified through the FDA hurdles, the valuation would go up and they could help us get across that finish line. Where we are today is we're projected to do about $2.5 million in revenue this year. The VA contract could significantly change that. So the VA contract, there are 9,000 ophthalmologists inside the VA system. If each office bought one pair, that's $18 million in revenue for us. So that could very much change the picture in a matter of the next 30 days.
Well, if that doesn't happen, I think I can help you negotiate a better deal.
Right, that would be good.
Anybody else?
All right.
Oh,
yeah, one more.
Just one thing. It's okay.
I use.
I mean, project the voice.
No, scream, please.
From down here.
Are you actively seeking investors?
We are. We're currently raising our seed round at 750K. We've raised about 75 of that so far. And we've done a couple of different pitch contests. The Startups Ignite happens to be one of them where we won. We were also selected by Homeland Security to go down to Dallas last summer and work on wearable tech for first responders. And so we got $25,000 from there. We have another $100,000 in Dallas that's committed at what they call the first major close. So as soon as somebody comes in with a 6-figure number, there's another $100,000 right behind them. Yeah. I basically got an MBA in 12 weeks. It was crazy. It was crazy.
I think that's the most number of questions we've ever
Yeah, that was incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very cool.
So congratulations. It's very engaging. I think you have another couple things to go through.
We do. So our goal is not to be a one-hit wonder in this space, right? Wearable technology for people with disabilities can cover a whole lot of different things. So the next one is another story. This is Deb. She's an avid baker. She literally makes the best cookies on the planet, but she also has high-frequency hearing loss. Her son was a former employee of mine. He called her one day and said, "Mom, there's this noise in the background." Turned out it was the oven timer, and she'd left the oven on for 3 days and didn't know it because she couldn't hear the timer going off. Almost burned her house down. There are big char marks on the back of the house, that kind of thing. So he called me and said, "Man, there's got to be a solution. What can we do about this thing?" We researched for about 3 weeks trying to find an existing product on the market that could help her and couldn't find one. There are people out there trying to fix this problem, but being a company of engineers, we just didn't feel like they did it right. So we built our own, and we call it Cyber Ears. So Cyber Ears is an app. It runs on a tablet or on a smartphone, and you train it to listen to the devices that you need to know about. So oven timers, doorbells, smoke detectors, microwaves, any of those sounds in your environment, you train it to listen for that particular sound. You record the sound. We actually ask that they record it 3 times. So the doorbell is a good example where you record it once that it's just the doorbell, once that it's the doorbell with the news blaring on the TV, and once with the dog barking in the background, all that kind of stuff, so that we can recognize exactly which sound they're going after. Being a room of data people, in sound processing in the past, there's been a system called waveform analysis. That's how most sound systems work, and it's slow, it's painful, it's difficult, and very rarely is it successful. It has about a 60% success rate. So who here has used Shazam? You guys know the Shazam app? There we go, we got a bunch of folks. What Shazam does is you can record a song for about 3 seconds and it'll tell you what song is playing. And it doesn't matter where in the song you recorded it. The way they do that is with a system called digital fingerprinting. And so we use digital fingerprinting in our Cyber Ears product. It works the exact same way as Shazam does for recognizing these sounds. Once you have all your sounds loaded into the system, it just runs into the background. It's constantly sampling. It samples every 3 seconds to listen for any of those recognizable sounds. We put no limit on it. You can put as many sounds in here as you want to. Whenever it detects one of those sounds, sends a real-time alert to a smartwatch. It vibrates the watch, lights it up, and tells you exactly which device is going off. Where this becomes really important is we did a field trial with Gallaudet University, and in the deaf community, they have what's called a shaker bed. And when their alarm clock goes off, the whole bed shakes to try to wake them up in the morning. The problem with that is after about 4 nights, they sleep through it. So we did this test and we had to figure out, well, if the smoke detector is going off, how are we going to get them out of bed? And so we strapped a bunch of smartwatches to them and started doing the vibration. And as it turns out, there are nerve endings on the top of your wrist because it's so close to the bone that they're very, very, very sensitive. A lot of folks may be using Fitbit and they have the Fitbit alarm that vibrates and wakes you up in the morning, that kind of thing. Same concept. The difference that we do is we actually escalate the vibration over time. So if they don't respond to it, vibration gets a little harder, lasts a little longer. If they still don't respond, we keep increasing that pattern again and again until we wake them up. With the sleep studies that we did, we actually found out that we could wake them up in the bottom of a REM cycle, which is your deepest point of sleep. Usually a REM cycle is about 90 minutes long, somewhere between 40 and 55 minutes. You're at the deepest point of that. And by setting off the watches, we were able to wake them up in the bottom of a REM cycle. Here's why that's important. If it's a smoke detector that's going off and they don't wake up, we have a problem. It's a matter of life and limb, and we need to make sure they're up. So here's the other thing that we do. You notice smoke detector is in red. We have what are considered critical devices, and smoke detectors happen to be one of those. So when it detects a smoke detector, not only does it set off their watch, but it also sends alerts to other people that they say alerts need to go to. Building managers, caretakers, family members, everybody that needs to know that the smoke detector is going off. But the alert can only be disabled from the watch. So even if mom is getting the alert and she's trying to turn the thing off because it keeps texting her every 3 minutes, she can't. Not until somebody with the watch on where the sound came from actually turns the thing off. So it was really wrapped around life and limb and how do we make sure people are being kept safe in their homes, their dorm rooms, that kind of thing. When it comes to usability on this, the funny lesson that we learned is everybody's used to charging their devices at night when they go to bed. Well, if you take the wristwatch off at night when you go to bed, we've completely defeated the purpose of trying to wake you up if the smoke alarm goes off. So we ended up having to retrain the user group that when they got into the shower, put the thing on the charger and let it charge up and go. most Android watches take about a half an hour to charge. So they don't take very long. They last about a day and a half with one charge. So it just became a change in user behavior, and we were able to fix that one pretty quickly and easily. So let's see it in action. The way that we tend to do this in installations is we ask folks to buy some old cheap Android tablet and leave it alone. Record their sounds, plug that sucker in the middle of the kitchen, and don't ever touch it again. So here's our application. It's actually up and running at the moment. It's super easy to use. You got a little plus sign to add new devices. We can go into our device itself, open up the doorbell. Oh, and you see the Your logo here. We also do this as an OEM provider. So we work with the American Hearing Loss Association, AARP, a lot of organizations like that. We brand it with their logo, all of their colors, all their stuff goes into it, and the users actually buy it from them instead of from us most of the time. So in the way that works, we actually have our little lightning bolt here to test and make sure that the alerts are working. So we'll hit our lightning bolt, and within a few seconds here, our nifty Moto 360 watch, there it goes. So the watch is vibrating right now. I need to dismiss that there's a thunderstorm warning. And those of you guys that were asking about Tesseract, I actually just got an email from the creator of Tesseract. But there is our cyber ears notification running on the watch. So it usually takes around 3 seconds or so for the notification to come through, vibrates, sets it off. And one of the things that we learned in the cognitive community in particular is people really want to see their own thing. They want to see a picture of their microwave, their front door, their thing. So they can either choose from one of our canned icons, or they can take a picture of their door, and that's what shows up in the background on the watch. So kind of cool usability feature. So questions about cyber ears? Okay.
How do you deal with that? Just curious, how is the false positive versus false negative rate? Because I can imagine this being critical either way.
That's why digital fingerprinting is the difference. So in waveform detection, the false negative is actually the problem where it doesn't detect an identical waveform. Speech is actually the worst one for waveform detection because people change their pitch, they change their frequency, all kinds of issues. With digital fingerprinting, that doesn't happen. So the false positive, I actually have a funny story about this one. Our developer who was writing this had tested on his own doorbell at home. One night he was sitting there watching Family Guy, and the doorbell went off on Family Guy, and his cyber ears went off. Because it was the same doorbell tone that he had on his house.
Do you have to be concerned though about liability? Like somebody buys your device, there's a house fire, it doesn't go off, and now you don't just feel horrible, but your company's now liable, getting sued, etc.
We fall into the same category as a smoke detector, and so technically when it comes to a scenario like that, as crappy as it is, the smoke detector company is not liable, and your homeowner's insurance cannot sue the smoke detector company. They can only sue the manufacturers of the stuff that burned up in the house. So if you didn't have fire retardant insulation, that kind of thing, that's who ends up getting sued in those processes, not the detection companies. We're way back in the back.
So for your target audience, are you primarily going after the deaf community, or are you trying to reach a wider audience? And how do you see it applicable to the average American versus the deaf community?
Sure. So it started with early adoption in the deaf community. Obviously, they think it's the coolest thing ever and fantastic, love it. So they were very early adopters for us. We are expanding out. Personally, I'm an Army vet. I put a lot of lead down range in my time. I can't hear squat out of this ear. So if I'm laying on the left side on the couch, it might as well be no TV on or anything else. It's like I'm in a chamber. So there's a whole community of people that have tinnitus, that they have hearing loss in one ear, that they have, and also we know certain frequencies, especially microwave frequencies, as you get older. Some folks may have seen this TV show, The Carbonaro Effect, but that guy can actually tell you your age based on certain sounds. And the reason is that as you age, certain frequencies start to drop off. So microwave timers tend to be right in that frequency that for 55-year-olds, that's the year that they lose that particular frequency. So, and even my wife's 36, she can't hear any of that crap. So we have cyber ears running at home for her.
All right, so what's the advantage of this training and neural network of your vector algorithm, which is what you're actually using, as opposed to say hooking up a microwave to a sensor, having a sensor in the microwave actually send a signal, because that's really, the sensor will actually detect really whether there's something, whether the microwave is still on. What's the advantage of using this clever way of having learning and all that stuff?
For sure. So we are well aware that this is what would be considered a gap product. The manufacturers are building smarter and smarter appliances. They're getting Wi-Fi connected. They're moving down this path. But appliances tend to have a 7 to 12 year lifespan. So even if you have a brand new microwave today, it could very well be 12 years before you get the new Samsung fridge that does this kind of stuff. So we're trying to fill that gap in between. We know that eventually this product, like most software products, will end up obsolete because of the manufacturers, but there's a good long time before that's going to happen. Other questions? Thank you.
I was really interested in when you were talking about the problem that you ran into, people not recharging or people recharging their devices at night. And so you trying to work on changing human behavior, possibly recharging during a shower. So can you go into more detail about that? Like how do you change human behavior? I mean, do you have these charging stations portable? Are they available in certain places? Like how would that go about?
Sure. So I actually have the charging station I use with me here, I do believe. We can see if I can, yeah, there it is. So this is, because it's a Moto 360, it actually does wireless charging, doesn't have to actually be plugged into the charger. So it uses QI chargers. So we use these. And so it made it very easy for us to convince people to just lay it on there as they were getting into the shower, and off we went. And they could plug this in wherever it made the most sense for them. So it may be on their nightstand, it may actually be in the bathroom itself. Doesn't matter where the charger is, but making the charger convenient was a part of that. And so moving to a wireless-based charging system was helpful in that process. But we did have folks that were wearing the Asus Zen 2 watches that have to be plugged into a cradle. And for them, it was really a matter of just experiencing the test, right? The first time that they went to bed at night and they had the thing on, and we set the alarm off and it got them out of bed, easy training from there forward.
And my other question was, I was wondering if you thought about linking to this to the IoT. And having those messages pop up, possibly, you know, the Samsung Hub, or any other devices.
We have, we're going to talk about another device here in a minute that's very, very, very IoT. And we were actually approached by Intel's Connected Home platform. And they wanted us to do this in the Intel Connected Home. They also wanted us to do our CyberArms product in the Connected Home. But we ran into a problem. In my career, I used to be the IT director at Fort Knox. So security is very important to me. Our chief security officer is still the network administrator for Fort Knox. So we're very, very, very security conscious. The problem with Intel and most connected home platforms is they run on Bluetooth, or that they use either direct Bluetooth connections or they use Bluetooth mesh networks. And there is currently no encryption algorithm for Bluetooth and Bluetooth mesh networks. And the Bluetooth consortium has no plans to develop one or recommend an algorithm for one to be used in the near future anytime soon. So we actually walked away from Intel's Connected Home platform because they couldn't give us a secure answer on how to do this over a secured Bluetooth network. So we're very much in the IoT space, but we're thinking, a few years ahead of where the industry is at the moment, that they're just trying to see what they can connect and who's gonna use it. Well, that's all cool and fine and dandy, but if your 14-year-old neighbor with a tablet is able to hack your Bluetooth code in a matter, with this tablet, we could hack a 7-digit Bluetooth code in about 12 seconds or so. So being able to suddenly control somebody's devices in their homes with 12 seconds on a tablet was not an acceptable solution for us. Just not gonna do that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
How do you tell the users that the app is still running, it's not crash or break?
There's a little ear icon that goes up in the status bar next to the clock. So it's always there and running, and anytime it crashes, it actually restarts itself.
So the user need to check it periodically.
Nope, because if it crashes, it'll restart itself.
So you assume your app will always be on.
I don't assume nothing. I know it's always on. I have really good engineers.
How do you give user the trust? Like if I'm a user, I will check it like every hour to see if it's still running. How do you tell the user it never dies, it's always running?
And they actually told us. So when we were doing the field trials, they came back and said, I can't kill this thing. And they were going into advanced task killer and that kind of thing and trying to kill it. You can't kill it. You're not going to stop it. So we actually have it registered at a very low level in Android. This is one of the things I love to brag about with my team, is Android watches got Wi-Fi last name, right? There's a reason for that, and his name is Rex Hall. He happens to be my VP of engineering, because Rex tore down an Asus watch in February, found the Wi-Fi processor, wrote the code, and gave it to Google. So we do things with Android that other people just don't do. And so with this one, we actually set it up so that when you install the application, it's put into the startup registry as a critical system application. So it's just like Google Play services or some of the back-end services that run inside Android, and you can't kill it. If you do kill it, the OS automatically restarts it.
That's a hell of an answer.
Thanks. Well, life and limb, it's important, right? It has to be running, and trying to notify somebody when it dies is actually more code than just restarting it when it dies.
So do you have a similar limitation with data collection as you do with the cyber ISAs, or is it?
You betcha. Not allowed to collect or report on any of it. Okay, cool, all right. So next is the product that got us started in this business. A friend of mine came back from Afghanistan after his 6th tour as a double amputee. Lost both of his arms in Afghanistan, lived in an apartment, and could not open his refrigerator door. It was one of those apartment fridges with the freezer and the fridge and a little slit in between, and the prosthetics did not fit in that slit to be able to open his refrigerator door. So he came to me and said, there's gotta be an answer, what can we do? At the time, I was actually playing with Arduino, and my wife, the first thing she had me build with Arduino is how to flush the toilet automatically. So of all things, that was the thing she wanted, was for the toilet to flush. And lo and behold, about a year later, Kohler released the one where you just wave your hand over the top and it flushes. We were doing that like a year before with our Arduinos. So anyway, so we started working for him, trying to figure out how to build a system that would open and close his refrigerator door. And what we ended up doing is going back to the smartwatch again, and we built an app on the watch where they use custom voice commands. So open microwave, open refrigerator, open glasses, whatever it is that they want to be able to open and close using their voice and their command. This is where the digital fingerprinting comes back into it. A lot of people that have disabilities will have strokes. Yeah.
Just interrupt for a second, because this is the last part of this presentation. If you've written down your cue cards and your stories about tonight, tweet them out to #DataVizDC, and we'll have the t-shirts at the end.
Yep, and at the Cyber Times. So, all right, so voice commands on the watch. It is your voice, your command. So one of the questions we get asked all the time is, how do you support foreign languages? I could care less what language it's in, because I'm doing a digital fingerprint of your voice and words that you said, and that's what controls this particular device. Again, it comes back to security. If I'm going to open and close somebody's front door, do I really want to do it with Siri or Google's voice processing engine? No. I want to make sure that it's authenticated and authorized. When it comes to biometrics, a bunch of data folks, you guys will like this. We did this study at Fort Knox. there are 3 forms of biometrics. You have fingerprint, iris, and voice authentication. Fingerprint is the least secure with about a 92% success rate or an 8% false positive rate. Iris is the most secure with about a 1% false positive rate. Voice happens to fall right in the middle at about 96.5%, 97% with a 3% false positive rate. Your voice happens to be more secure than your fingerprint and just barely less secure than your iris. I got a hand up in the back already. Okay.
I'm just curious, how you put it as a mic right around where your door is, and then I've got
Not true. There's a big difference in being able to recreate the human voice through a speaker versus the human voice coming out through vocal cords.
Is that just fidelity, or what's
There's a lot to it. Fidelity is part of it, and also frequency range is the other. So typical human voice is somewhere between the 12 to 24 hertz range, somewhere like that. Most speakers, and especially MP3s, you've seen them recorded at 48 kilohertz, that kind of thing. It's a completely different range. So trying to recreate a human voice is really, really tough. So it makes it a very secure biometric method. So custom voice commands. The other thing that we do is we got to build our own 3D printer because we use 3D printed linear actuators to pull this off. So trying to find something that would fit inside a refrigerator, behind a drawer, into a cabinet, onto an oven, all those kinds of things, there is no single device that's going to do that. So we built a 3D printer, we do all our 3D designs ourselves, and print the devices that we need to fit wherever we're installing them. I actually have one of them back here. There's the guts pulled out of it because the power cord wasn't quite long enough, but this is the general idea. It's basically a motor with a gear that goes inside of this, attached to another gear. This gear spins around and pushes the rod back and forth to be able to open and close whatever hinge we're trying to work with. Refrigerators happen to be extremely difficult. In the process, we broke 7 refrigerators and became an absolute expert in drywall repair. So there was a lot of work trying to figure out how to open and close a refrigerator door. The reason is the magnetic seal that goes around it. If you get a motor that has enough torque to break that seal, the door goes flying open, either comes off or goes through the drywall, or it doesn't open at all. So there's a whole series of issues around that. So you guys that are hardware geeks, we actually ended up using stop sensors. So if you have a little pneumatic stop sensor that when it's closed, it'll tell you it's closed, when it's open, it'll tell you it's open. What we do for refrigerators is we take the stop sensor and run it in reverse. So that when we want to open it, we force that little pneumatic to pop open, break the seal, and then we turn our motor on to open and close the door. So it was a lot of engineering, a whole lot of time, effort, and money, and appliances and drywall. But we eventually got there. The way we do this in the marketplace is we actually work with remodeling companies and cabinet installers. That they go out, they do all the measurements for us, they do all the installation work for us. They send the measurements to us so we can design the box the way that we need to. You can see in this design, there's actually the rod sitting next to the motor. We also have some for smaller environments where the rod runs right through the center of the motor, so we can use it in a much smaller space. We also have gotten away from Arduino in our current system. We have custom PCB boards that we use that are about the size of your thumb. So it's a whole lot easier to put those in place. And all of this runs on SSL encrypted Wi-Fi. That we create our own Wi-Fi access point. We self-sign all of our own certificates, and they're a 2048-bit encrypted certificate. So it's actually the same security level that banks use to do all of their data transfers. So that's CyberArgs. And I've got a couple of demos here. We'll hook this one into the phone at the moment. So there's a little motor back here, and you might hear it run. It's a little tough to see at the moment. But as you can see, I can run it from a browser, tell it to open and close. I can run it from my phone. We have a little app on the phone that they run through. Hopefully it'll pop up for us here. Where are you at, phone? There we go. So you guys were talking about Tesseract earlier. I actually have an email from Thies right now. But this is a little app that we have that you can plug in the URL, push the button and open and close it. Or from my handy dandy watch. I'm not sure I actually have it configured on the tablet here to run, and the watch is paired to the tablet. So I don't think I can show it from the watch at the moment, but it works the same way from the watch, where you just say open or close and off you go. And you might notice you guys are a bunch of data nerds, so you see all the stuff attached to the URL there at the end, all the parameters that are coming at the end of that. What that is how many revolutions it needs to spin, which direction does it need to spin in, what torque level do we want for it, all that kind of stuff. So and this is how we're able to set it up so that the cabinet installers, they go out and install the thing, and then they figure out as they're installing it, well, how many revolutions does it take to open this particular cabinet? Does it open to 90 degrees or does it open to 130 degrees? And how many revolutions is required to do that? That kind of thing.
I assume that you're only going in the Z direction, not the X or Y direction.
No, the Z is actually a hack from one of our developers. We got really frustrated trying to figure out where this particular string ends in Arduino code. Trying to find a termination of a string is not easy in Arduino land, and turning that into an array. And so what we ended up doing was putting 5 Z's to make sure that's always the end. And so we take that, turn it into an array. We ignore the 5 Z's. We use the other 5 parameters to do what we got to do. And off we go.
Okay. I'm trying to imagine how you encode a vector in 5.
It was Arduino. We were literally just banging our head against the wall trying to get the Arduino to behave. And so we tried to think of, even if somebody has a domain name for their home network, or if they have, some other parameter that we're trying to add in the future, when is 5Z going to be the parameter? Well, probably never. So that's what we ended up using as a string terminator. Yep. And we tried tildes and all kinds of stuff, but Arduino doesn't like
More questions. You're a very popular guy today.
Sure. That's why we do this. I love what we do. It's fantastic.
So just, could you just tell, if you want to participate in the Series C, can you just tell you how you do that? Can you just talk a little bit about your monetization process of all your products?
Sure. So the first and easiest way is we have a really beautiful e-commerce website, and people can buy directly from us there. The other way is through any of our partners. So that's actually the team. We're a bunch of old guys, not college dropouts. But the business model is right here. These are the partners that we have currently. So folks can go through any of these organizations to get the products. The really cool thing about doing it this way is these are all nonprofits. So if you buy it through them, it ends up being a write-off on your taxes at the end of the year. So it's kind of a tax subsidy program without having to be a subsidy program. Or, like I said, they can buy directly through us.
Well, I meant your Series C.
Or SEED, S-E-E-D.
C, you said you were.
Yes, SEED, S-E-E-D. So far, we've built all of these products, built the company, done everything bootstrap. It's been Sean's 401k, which is now empty. Sean's savings, which is now empty. Yeah, we bootstrapped all the way. Sure, so we do investor conversations on a regular basis. We like to have one-on-one conversations. So just contact me, shoot me an email, let me know if that's what you guys want to talk about, and we'll get you our investor deck. The investor deck has the executive summary, it has the price projections over the next 4 years, has the use of funds, all the stuff you would expect to see in a normal investor presentation. No. We've got folks that have come in at 25K.
The other question is,
I didn't quite catch the question.
For example, sorry, but it was from a business perspective. The product opened the last presentation, the other side of school, onto the jump, the health of Department of Health. I think that's when it becomes really sexy from that perspective. To the site itself. This is the voice recognition. My question was, how long does it take to train the system to learn to recognize your voice?
Once.
Yeah.
Once.
Okay, because the other question is, how can you start to bundle your software? I believe in the 80-20, like rules of experimenting outside work. When I started with that idea and try to bundle, try to create the same thing. But I might as well just bundle your stuff on my own.
Sure. We actually work with a company called ARIA, it's A-R-I-A, that they have a system for low vision and blind that uses real-time video and coaches back in a call center. And so when they're looking at something, they can contact their coach and have their coach tell them what they're looking at. They took our OCR engine and bundled it into their application so they could do OCR in the field. Yep. Yep, everything is built very modular if you're a programmer-y kind of person. Everything is built in itty-bitty pieces that can be carved out, easily replaced, that kind of thing.
Are there discounts if you buy in bulk?
Of course. Yep, we have a value-added reseller program. That's actually why all these guys work with us, is they, depending on volume, it's always based on volume, but depending on the volume, they can generate 20% of the cost of the product back to them in a revenue stream. So on the CyberEyes, for example, for Johns Hopkins, or DC Center for Independent Living is probably a better example, We sold 18 units today at DC Center for Independent Living. That's $36,000 in revenue today, and 20% of that will actually go back to DC still.
So he's going to be available afterwards for more questions. For right now, I'd like to just give him a round of applause. And right now, we're going to go through the tweets. Could you help me out? Go to twitter.com.
You got it. Be sure to take out the cyber time.
So either way, it would work. On search Twitter, you go pound DataVizDC. And you should, there's one that shows like all of them. I think is it live? Because it's not the top ones. Okay, so yeah, of course Casey's streaming it live.
More options all, but it doesn't seem like anybody submitted anything.
Oh, here we go. All.
Yeah, there's one from 3 hours ago. So
31 seconds ago.
There we go. So we've got 2 submissions. Is that right? 2 people submitted?
So there you go. Okay.
It's a new idea. We haven't done it in a couple months, so I'm not surprised. Originally, Catherine Madden gave the presentation on doing data stories, but she's not allowed to participate because she's too good at it. So open up the first one. And who did this one?
Haley Sutton.
You want to talk about it? Just say what you're thinking. Let's go through your mind.
So I was thinking, just, I have a lot of hands up because there are a lot of really good questions and everyone seems really excited about it, and yeah, I think it's some exciting technology, so that's what I was trying to capture. And I'm not very good at this, but then also with what I have on the screen is one of your kind of user tales and what inspired you to come with it, so.
Thank you.
And all the hands up from all the questions. I like that.
Whoever doesn't have time. Yeah. Go ahead and close it. Okay. And did she have it? No, she's just tweeting it out. So we had the one participant. We'll do it again next time. But thank you very much for participating. And please remember, take the survey as you're going out. It's about how often you code. You code today, you coded within the last week, within the last month, or you're not committed to coding. We use this information to help with our sponsorship, so thanks for taking it. And for those who are going to stay afterwards, a few of us are probably going to go over to the big hunt over on Connecticut.
Close by 9.
They close by 9?
No, we close. Did you want to mention that? Everybody up by 9 p.m.
Casey wants everybody out as soon as possible.
Politely, Chief, thanks you for coming, but we'll be closing at 9 p.m. That's about 20 minutes. So please stick around and have some pizza and drinks. Thank you. I'm hoping to, but hold on one second.
Yeah, I saw your on your website.